Welcome to this explainer on Claude Shannon, the mathematics of information and the bit. Let's get right into it. Think about the stuff we use every single day. A text message, Wi-Fi, a YouTube stream, a flash drive, satellite signals, or even advanced AI. What do they all actually have in common? Well, they all process information. But here's the crazy part. For a really long time, engineers only thought about the physical signals, like sound waves or electrical impulses. It wasn't until the 20th century that we figured out how to weigh and measure a message itself, like you would mass or length, turning it into a strict mathematical quantity.
Section 1. Be father of information. To understand how you actually measure a message, we have to talk about Claude Shannon. He's the undisputed father of information theory, and 1948 was the year that changed absolutely everything. Working at Bell Labs, he published a groundbreaking paper called A Mathematical Theory of Communication. In it, he posed this radical idea. Instead of focusing on the signal, we should think of a message purely as a choice from a set of possible options.
And Shannon wasn't just some dry theoretician stuck in a lab. The guy was an incredibly practical genius. Growing up in Michigan, he was always inventing things. During World War II, he was a cryptographer securing calls between Roosevelt and Churchill. And he was famously playful. We're talking about a guy who literally built a machine that juggled steel balls, rode a unicycle through the halls of Bell Labs, and built an early robotic mouse that could navigate a maze. But his ideas were so ahead of their time that his peers didn't really know what to make of them at first. As the famous mathematician A.N. Kolmogorov noted, the scientific community totally underestimated Shannon's genius. They thought it was just an engineering technique, completely missing the fact that Shannon had just fundamentally reshaped mathematics by quantifying information itself.
Which brings us to Section 2, the mathematics of surprise.
So, how do you actually define information? In our everyday lives, we just think of it as meaning. But Shannon didn't care about the meaning at all. To him, information is all about surprise. It's about its ability to reduce uncertainty, a concept he called information entropy. Information is simply whatever helps you choose one exact option out of many possibilities. Let's look at an everyday example. If I tell you, the sun will rise tomorrow, or tomorrow will be tomorrow, that predictable message carries almost zero new information. You already knew that was going to happen. But if I say, it will snow in the desert tomorrow, or tomorrow's classes are totally canceled, that highly unlikely, surprising message drastically reduces your uncertainty. A short, surprising message carries way more actual information than a long, predictable one. Shannon proved that you can precisely calculate this average amount of information, the entropy, using this exact formula, which measures the probability of different events. It basically calculates the average rate at which an unpredictable, chaotic data source produces actual, usable information. To make that a bit more concrete, imagine flipping a coin. A fair coin flip has high entropy because it's 100% uncertain until it lands. You don't know the outcome, so the result gives you maximum information. But if you have a rigged two-headed coin, the outcome is completely predictable. The entropy, and therefore the new information you gain, is absolute zero.
Section 3. Enter the bit.
This realization leads us directly to the fundamental building block of our entire digital reality. Shannon popularized the term bit, short for binary digit. He showed that absolutely all information can be broken down into a series of simple yes or no choices, ones and zeros. So that single coin flip, that is exactly one bit of information. And here's where it gets mind-bending. Information isn't just an abstract mathematical thought. According to Landauer's principle, erasing a single bit of information releases a tiny but very real amount of physical heat energy, exactly 2.7 times 10 to the power of negative 21 joules. So the digital world has actual physical weight.
Moving on to Section 4, channels, noise, and codes. Of course, generating a bit is only half the battle. You still have to send it across the world. In his 48 paper, Shannon outlined this 5-step model for communication systems. Whether you're using a physical wire, a radio wave, or the modern internet, your biggest enemy is always noise, the physical interference that corrupts your signal along the way. But by mathematically understanding entropy, Shannon showed us exactly how to beat that noise. If a message is highly predictable, we can compress it by removing the redundant stuff. Like, instead of sending the letter A 8 times, you just send a code for 8 times A. Modern algorithms can compress English text down to just 1.5 bits per symbol. And by deliberately adding smart redundancy back into the code, we can reliably detect and fix those errors caused by noise. Now, despite monumentally changing the world with these tools, Shannon stayed incredibly humble. He explicitly warned scientists not to treat his formulas like magic words that could just automatically solve every problem in physics or engineering. He knew his theory was incredibly powerful, but it had strict mathematical boundaries.
Section 5. The Quantum Leap. So, where is all this classical theory heading next? Well, we're currently evolving from the classical bit to the qubit. While Shannon's classical bit is strictly a 0 or a 1, a quantum bit uses the weird rules of quantum mechanics. Thanks to superposition, a qubit can exist in a vast multitude of states all at once, right up until the moment it's actually measured. And it gets even wilder by leveraging quantum entanglement, where qubits instantly influence each other no matter the distance, and interference to amplify correct answers. Future computers will be able to solve complex algorithms in minutes, stuff that would literally take classical computers millions of years to figure out. The economic value here is absolutely staggering. Analysts are projecting that quantum computing could have up to a $2 trillion economic impact by 2035, fundamentally revolutionizing medicine, finance, and global logistics. Finally, Section 6, our digital world. Let's bring this all back to reality, right back to the device you're watching this explainer on. Every single text you send, every video you stream, every secure transaction you make relies entirely on Claude Shannon's mathematics. He provided the exact blueprint for compressing bits and coding them to survive the noisy channels of the internet flawlessly. Shannon proved that a message isn't just words, it's a mathematical structure of possibilities. He took the abstract idea of communication and gave it a measurable form. And as we stand on the edge of the quantum revolution, manipulating reality at the subatomic level, we have to wonder, what new realities will we build next? If you're fascinated by how mathematics explains the internet and the universe around us, be sure to subscribe to Code of the Universe. Because as we've seen today, even a single bit can change absolutely everything.